It's rain season.
I've literally, dog. I was talking to him about this shit. I think this next movie is about to be fire, bro. This next Matrix movie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of niggas are sleeping on it, bro. This shit's about to be fire. Like everything I've heard about production wise, how this movie was made, all that shit, looks like it's about to be fire.
See, this is like you can't fuck it up at this point.
But it's not. See,
I feel like they would put a lot of work into it because they know what it is.
Yeah, and I used to be a hater of the second movie, the second two movies. I used to hate those movies until I started watching them more. I started watching the like philosophical shit behind it because I didn't understand the philosophical shit. Fire, they're fire. Now I don't like the execution of how it was handled. You feel me? Like the tonistically and shit like that. Even some of the CGI was kind of wonky, like the fight between him.
I mean, but for the time though.
For the time, yeah. But even then, I didn't like it when I saw it like a couple, like 2 years after. I think I rented them from the Middletown Library or some shit. Like I didn't like the CGI like even then. But regardless, like the philosophical shit they explored in the Matrix is fire. Then I watched the Animatrix too. So that shit, bro.
Do you feel like niggas be talking about we live in a real Matrix?
I thought this is another shit I talked to this nigga about. I really feel like we live in a simulation, bro. I really feel like that. I was watching this one PBS video.
Simulation how?
Like, I feel like, so I don't think it's like on some computer shit. I think it's some shit that we can't comprehend because we're in it. And we, like, some of us might even be bots. Honestly, I might be a bot. I don't know.
I mean, what's the difference?
Like, I feel like, what if it's like Legends? You remember Legends? So you know how like basically Rip Hunter pulled all them niggas because they like didn't affect the timeline and shit like that. But homegirl, what's her name? Amari, she had, or no, Vixen, the older Vixen.
Yeah.
She had to go back because she had a destiny.
she had to finish
What
it.
if it's like that? You feel me? What if like most of us are just here, exist like basically how we view it, but we've come to accept that and normalize that because that's how we've always gone about. The masses have gone about. Like there's been billions upon probably trillions of people that have ever existed on this fucking planet. Not all of them made a fucking difference. We only remember some niggas. There's even now there are some niggas we forgot maybe because of history, this, that, and the third. We don't know like Atlantis and shit. Fucking we don't know certain shit. The ancient African kingdoms and shit, but different reasons. But still, regardless, there's some figures that are in history because maybe they're actually like, what if they're actually part of the prime consciousness or some shit? So what if like there actually are people like certain people that are better than other people?
I feel
Better, but they actually have a greater purpose than other people.
I mean that it's the difference between saying like, do we have free will or is everything kind of just set in stone?
But that's what the Matrix explores so beautifully. Because Morpheus is an important ass fucking character, but Morpheus don't got shit on Trinity. She's more important than Morpheus.
Well, as far as making Neo believe in himself?
No. So that's where they talk. That's where they go into depth. This nigga, I keep telling you, gotta watch Matrix Explain. So basically, Trinity, the love between Neo and Trinity was concocted in this iteration of the Matrix by the Oracle. So the Oracle herself is basically like Galactus or the Celestials. She's neither good nor bad. She's acting on her own volition and interest. Basically, the original trilogy of the Matrix can basically be surmised as a chess game between the Oracle and the Architect.
Well, that's kind of interesting.
Because the Oracle's purpose was always to make the Matrix, to study it, to basically like lessen the amount of people that become red pills in the later iterations of the Matrix. That's her whole purpose. Just like Neo's whole purpose, not necessarily as the one, because he's not the one. He's the sixth. Because there were 5 previous versions of the Matrix before him. He's actually what they call the integral anomaly. The integral anomaly basically carries this like specific unique code and shit like that, which is basically kind of like the collective consciousness of like humanity basically. And you got, the part that like wakes people up from the Matrix and shit like that. He's the collective like red pill consciousness. His whole purpose though is to still feed the system, because when he returns to the source, the Architect takes that code from him and uses it to make an even better version of the Matrix the next time around. The Oracle basically was coming along and saying like, look, this isn't good for either us or them because niggas keep waking up.
Okay.
The war.
So it's like the Architect and the Oracle, right? So the Oracle is trying to find the weaknesses. It's like, okay, the chess game that you was talking
She's
about.
trying to find. I feel like she's trying. Now, this is where I put my own personal like theories in. She's trying to find, definitely trying to find the weaknesses within humanity, but more so on our emotional side. That's why she can connect with Neo and Morpheus as a warm motherly figure. Her shell in the Matrix is even like an older, motherly looking black woman, whereas the architect is this cold
Baking cookies.
Yeah, baking cookies. That's actually I'm gonna get into that too. So when you had like the Oracle's whole purpose is to basically like find those emotional, like to interpret and understand human emotion more so than a program like the architect can, for example. So her whole purpose is basically to make the Matrix more realistic to keep more people in it without waking up. But her own personal thing is this isn't good for either one of us because we're like losing humans, niggas is waking up and shit. We need to come to a better catharsis between humanity and humans as a whole because this isn't working for either one of us. The architect is kind of human, more human than the humans, because he's driven by ego. So in the Animatrix, they talk about how they kind of go into like the previous Matrixes and shit like that. Like one of the original Matrixes, because the original Matrix was actually made by humans to try and control the machines and convert them, which had actually worked. But then as like programs develop and evolve and shit, it evolved to basically take over the human Matrix from the humans. But basically the original Matrix that the machines created was a paradise, but it was too perfect and a whole bunch of people kept fucking waking up. The architect basically reacted as a human would, an emotional human. He said, oh, this isn't good enough for you guys? All right, fuck it. I'm gonna make a nightmare Matrix and make this shit horrible for you. Fuck y'all niggas then. That didn't work.
And so you got good and evil and they're trying to find the balance by
of it.
fighting each other.
Exactly. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if they introduce aliens in this film. Basically,
I got a question though. So let's say very first Matrix, right? Robots put all the humans under. Who got out the first person? Who got out the first person? As in, like we watched.
Who's the first person to wake up?
Yeah, but it's like we
the chosen one. The integral anomaly. So when he goes back to the source, his whole thing is to take. Because remember, he said if you walk through this door, you go back to Trinity and basically you end your whole species, or you walk through this door to the source of the Matrix and you choose, I think it was like 7 females and like 5 males, and you basically restart the new Zion.
Oh,
yeah. So that's why I'm saying Morpheus is still in a sense a bot because he's still following a prophecy made by the Oracle, who's just a deeper layer of control. So literally, that's why in the Matrix 2, when Neo's having the conversation with like the elder nigga and shit like that. He was like, these machines keep us alive. These machines are trying to kill us. He was like, what's the difference between these two machines? He was like, well, we control these. He said, but the concept of control, what is that? Just because we can turn them off, that's fucking control. And then that goes deeper with the Merovingian speech, when the Merovingian describes power and control basically as niggas who have power and niggas who don't. That's why y'all come here to me without power and expect me to relinquish control to you. But that's where you were talking about the cookie with the Oracle. That goes into the Merovingian because basically the Merovingian told this nigga the Oracle manipulated you to love Trinity through that fucking cookie. So what did he show? What did the Merovingian show them in the restaurant? He showed them that code can be altered through things like food within the Matrix. When he sent the chick the cake, he made her horny and then he went to the bathroom and fucked her. So he basically, as like a cynical joke to Neo's fucking face, basically said, "Yo, you're still being controlled, you bitch ass nigga." And then they got cemented when he went and talked to the architect and realized, oh shit, the Oracle is another form of control. That's why when Morpheus, so Neo, that's why Matrix Reloaded, the second Matrix and the first Matrix are inverses of each other. So it's Morpheus waking Neo up to the truth of reality, but Neo waking Morpheus up to the fact that he's still in the system and form of control. That is, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy, dog.
Yeah, that's deep.
That is deep as fuck, bro.
The saved and the savior get switched.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But that's where I fuck with Dune too. I've been following the mythology of Dune, and Dune is about basically being against the worshiping of like figures that present themselves in these savior like ambiances. That's why I'm kind of starting to not fuck with Star Wars a lot because basically George Lucas took Star Wars and literally like made it the thing that Frank Herbert was critiquing within Dune, which was the savior complex. You know, this guy's gonna save us all, this, that, and the third. And it creates hope within humanity. It's an artificial thing. That's basically what the Oracle what created in Morpheus in order for Morpheus to serve his purpose in her overall plan and her chess game against the architect.
That's a lot of shit.
The Matrix is fire, bro. The Matrix.
The Matrix
I
is
mean, I'm
fire.
gonna peep it. But
You ain't peep?
no, I've watched the first 3. I'm talking
Okay.
about the new one that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
out.
But people forget the only reason why Zion wasn't wiped out was because they had the problem with Smith. Smith was a new thing. Like that, he could have killed everybody basically, the machines, and the humans. So that's the reason why Zion was spared. So they didn't reboot. Well, the Matrix still did reboot because in a sense Neo did return to the source, but not in the normal way the one usually does. Like he chose Trinity. Like we saw that in the second movie. He chose to save Trinity. That was part of the Oracle's plan to basically bring the machines to the table, basically to manipulate events to the point where they got with Smith. That's why when Smith showed up, she knew what was going to happen, and she had to let that happen. But that's why she wanted to protect. That's why I think the little girl from the third movie is going to be so fucking important, because I think we saw an older version of her in the trailer. And what did she do in the Matrix? And this is why thematically, like, people are like, this doesn't even look like the old Matrix anymore. There's a reason for that. They did it in the third movie.
She changed the color.
She changed the color palette of the Matrix by making a sun in honor of Neo. So that's why the whole color palette of this new film looks different than the old films. It's not like the green hue anymore.
Yeah.
Because since Neo returned and gave that code back to the source, they adopted that, and the different programs did their jobs and shit like that, and made the Matrix look more realistic. They brought more color to it. And now I think they're going to explore like the whole aspect of technology within the Matrix itself. And I think we're going to get into like multiverses shit, with like multiverses within the Matrix, but the different multiverses being different matrices. So remember when Neo went to see the architect and you saw like those bare constructed doors and shit like that, like they didn't have frames around them? What if those were different versions of the Matrix that weren't finished? They were literally like basically universes in a sense that the machines or the architect was creating.
We won't be here all night, so smoke and sip and climb. The shine is over, the dark takes over, your mind will be alright. Wash it down with a hell of a Sprite. Put your cups in the air all night. And if you're sober, grab a clover, follow me, cause we're about to goggles. Baby, can you see me as your eyes broke? Had to punch in like some Tybo. Faded bars, I might go on top, feeling so fly. Oh, really getting silly up in your sky. Geeking on the weekends to the sunrise. Bitch, drinking with no tweeties over no stars. Loud side turn the screams of my name again and again, making me tame like yes, baby, that's me. When the road keeps swaying, can't see. Bass beat numbing under my feet. Jack drop, we bust that sleep. Papa says